Hi, Sean Alcoholic.
Hi, Sean.
Uh, Took me a second to figure out how to unmute it. It looked like maybe you had to approve it first or something. Thank you for having me. Good to be of service. Welcome any newcomers. That's really a big deal that you're online right now in a meeting. For those of you that don't like people very much, then maybe it's not that big of a deal. But for a lot of people, it takes a lot of courage, especially with what's going on in this world right now as it is. My sobriety date is September 1st, 2012. Let me check the time real quick. Can you just yell at me when my 15 minutes is up? That wasn't my first sobriety date. I tried it 11 months prior to that. But I did not know this was I thought this was some sort of religious program, and I went to church because I saw God on the steps, and I continued to run my show, run my life, and manage my life, and I continued to get what I always got. After that 11 months, I had a turning point. I had something happen, something said to me, which I will get to here pretty shortly, but I had something said to me that completely changed my perception. I've learned that I've got a disease of perception here in Alcoholics Anonymous. So anyways, just real quick, because I think it's important to qualify so other people may relate. You guys may not relate, but I'm going to go ahead and say a few things anyways. I grew up in Sacramento, California. I don't know. I assume you guys are familiar with that. And I lived a very poor, abusive, drug-infested, and alcoholic lifestyle. That's not why I'm alcoholic. That's just the way it looked back then. I was in CPS for a lot of years. I was physically abused and sexually abused. And we were also homeless for a few years inside Oak Park, California, in my mom's car. And a lot of things happened that I shouldn't have seen as a kid. That's still not why I'm alcoholic. When I was 8 years old, I did a year in YA prison. That's not normal for 8-year-olds, I don't believe. That just goes to show you that the way I was thinking at that time was unhealthy. Now this is starting to be what makes me an alcoholic. My attitude and behavior, even at 8 years old, was so significant that they had to lock me up and put me in a prison. While I was there, man, I swore on everything that I was going to change. And I was already defiant, My mom and dad had gotten clean and sober when I was 8 years old. And excuse me real quick, sorry. And so I had every chance thereafter to live a regular, normal life, to live that life, getting everything I thought I wanted. I thought if I had like a white picket fence and a regular house like everybody else, and my parents were together like everybody else, and I had nice, clean clothes like everybody else, and I had best friends for a long time I thought that I would be happy, and so from 8 years old on, my parents tried their best, and they both still have, many years of recovery. My dad's got 20-something years, and my mom, unfortunately, relapsed at some point. She's got 10 years now. But so I got to YA prison, and I swore everything was going to be different when I got out. I remember that feeling. My heart sunk to my shoes, and I swore, man, when I get out of this place, I'm going to love my mom. I'm going to love my dad. I'm going to be nice to everybody. I'm not going to do those things I used to do because I was already messing around with drugs. I was already defiant and disrespectful. And I swore with all my heart when I got out, I was going to be different, And I got out. I went and I hung out with the same kids that lived the same lifestyle I lived, and I did the same things I always did because what I was doing was seeking attention. I was never comfortable in my own skin, even at that age. And so I went and I hung out with the people that made me feel comfortable, the people that lived the same way I lived. And whenever I wanted attention, I would do something crazy to get it, So long story short, I had some significant accidents drunk when I was 12. I was holding on his car, skateboarding, going 50 miles an hour drunk, and it ran over my head, ran over my chest, put me in a coma. Made me deaf in my left ear, broke my jaw, had to learn how to walk, learn how to talk, had to meet my family, meet my friends. And what I could tell you about that experience is when that was all said and done, months and months later, when I finally started going outside, I held onto a moped instead of a car skateboarding because it would hurt less. That's the type of thinking I had. That's the way I thought. And what I could tell you also is before that, I swore things were going to be different. I swore with everything that everything was going to be different. And so long story short, again, by the time I graduated high school, I had 3 DUIs. And after every DUI, I got a DUI at 16, one at 17, one at 18. And after every DUI, I walked into those. I had the pleasure to do multiple offender classes. I walked into those classes, and they showed me these nasty videos of every 15 minutes. They showed me these people spending life in prison and these families being killed and all this terrifying stuff. And every time I went into that class, I swore to God I would never drink and drive again. That sense of impending doom, like my heart sunk to my shoes. I swore by it, man. I would never ever do it again, and I couldn't not drink and drive. I couldn't not drink and fight. I come to learn that in AA, and so my drinking didn't last very long. By the time I was 21, all those DUIs were paid off. I was clear. I was scot-free. And I got all those things I thought I needed: that white picket fence, that beautiful girlfriend, that career. If I had all those things, I wouldn't drink like I drank. If you had the life I lived, you would do that too. That's what I always thought. And if I would just have all those normal things, those material things, then I would be good. I would be different. I'm a good person, and so at 21, I got all that. I got my first place. I had the beautiful girlfriend. I had the career, and the DUIs were paid off. What I could tell you about that is by the time I was 23, which is shortly before I got sober, by the time I was 23, I was homeless in West Sacramento. I had been homeless for a little while. I had burned every bridge I ever had. My dad had to kick me out. He loves me to death, and he had to kick me out because he was tired of seeing his son come home dying, and that's exactly what was happening. And when I was homeless, and one day I woke up in my own shit and piss. I don't know if you guys relate to that or not. Sorry, it's so vulgar, but that's the way I woke up. And I went downstairs and I rinsed off. I cleaned it all. I went downstairs and my friends actually told me that happened, and I still, had that in my pants and stuff. So I went upstairs and I cleaned off, and I went back downstairs. It was like 6 a.m, and I was like, oh man, I don't know what happened, man. And you know what? I'll be back. And I went to the store and I got a couple tall cans because that's the only thing I knew to do. That's the only way I could get well in the mornings. And I drank one of those tall cans and I started to feel messed up. Something was wrong, and I've got a long history of health issues, but something was wrong. And it took a lot for me to say that. And it took a lot for me to go to the doctors or ask for help. So I finally went to my dad's house and I said, Dad, hey, something's wrong, man. Can I sleep on your couch? I don't feel right, And he said, yeah. So I slept on his couch and I was laying there, and I forgot, I don't know what time it was, but I had too much pride and ego to go upstairs and wake him up and tell him that I was going paralyzed on one side, So, so I drove myself to the hospital. I drove myself to UC Davis Hospital in Sacramento, and I collapsed in the middle of the walkway right there, and had a minor stroke. And they admitted me and found a couple blood clots in my left lung and pneumonia, and said I got this pulmonary embolisms, reoccurring blood clots, and they don't know why, and something's wrong, and blah, blah, blah. And the doctor asked me if I drank alcohol, and I said, yeah, I always reached out. I always said, yeah, I thought I didn't know I had a problem, so I couldn't ask for help properly. You know what I mean? But I knew that I was alcoholic, and I wouldn't mind, some pity, And so the doctor explained to me that I had to take these blood thinners, and I said, okay. And he said, well, you can't drink and take these blood thinners. You also have to be worried about your vitamin K intake and all that stuff. And so I said, well, why can't I drink? And he said, well, because you got to come in regularly, and I got to draw your blood and see how thick or thin your blood is. It's called get an INR level. And I said, okay. And he said, if you're drinking, it's gonna change up the reading for your INR level. I need some consistency. And I said, okay, well, how about I drink 2 tall cans a day? You give me my dose. We keep it consistent. and then I'll come get my INR checked, and it'll be consistent. And the doctor agreed with me. And within 6 months, I went to that doctor's 3 times, and I had another heart attack, or I had a heart attack and another stroke. And that's because the blood clot traveled because my blood was too thin, and I couldn't not drink. And every time I seen that doctor, I swore to God I was going to stop drinking. I swore by it, life or death, and I swore by it, right? But somewhere in my career of drinking, I lost the power of control. I didn't have a choice. You know, I used to think if I had kids, I've got kids today, man, it's such a blessing. I used to think if I had kids, that would keep me sober. You know, if I had all those material things I talked about, it would keep me sober. Here I was, life or death, and I swore it was going to keep me sober. And that 3rd time, the doctor took away the medicine. He said, I'm killing you by giving you this. And so I cried my eyes out, man, and my heart sunk to my shoes, and I begged him and begged him and begged him, and he gave me my medicine. And I walked out of that clinic. It was Salud Clinic in West Sacramento, and I walked out, and I could either take a right and go home or take a left and end up at the liquor store. And I went to the liquor store and I threw my medicine away. I was now suicidal. You know what I mean? And so that didn't last long because I like to get in fights. I'm a criminal. And so I ended up in county jail. And I was looking at a long time in prison, and I got an alternative sentence. And a guy like me don't get an alternative sentence. I got felony drug court, 18-month felony drug court program, an alternative to a 14-year prison sentence at 80%. And I was a violent criminal. I didn't deserve this program, and I got it. And so I got introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I walked into my recovery home, and I got a sponsor, and I started doing what they told me to do. You know, I saw God on the board, like I mentioned earlier, so I went to church, you know, you know, that it didn't keep me sober right off the bat, you know, but it introduced me to the rooms. And that program was designed to teach me how to live, you know, a guy like me. And so I got my own apartment, and I got a career as a welder mechanic, and I've never even touched a grinder before. And I was doing good. I was 11 months in, about to graduate. My roommate came home and found me passed out on the floor, turning colors and not breathing. And my roommate called the ambulance. The ambulance woke me up. So, "Wake up, Sean." It's like, "How the hell do you know his name?" He got hit by a truck on Main Street in Woodland, California, and we brought him home. I don't know how you manipulate them to bring you home, but I manipulated them to bring me home in a blackout. I was a blackout drinker, and so I walked into an AA meeting after that because I told on myself. I told the coordinator, and I got another chance. I'll tell you that in a second. But I walked into a meeting, and the lady said, "If you're looking for a manager of your own life, would you hire yourself to do it again?" No way I wouldn't hire myself to manage my life again. She said, "Okay, you might as well leave it up to a higher power." I heard that. I went to a lot of meetings, and I didn't hear much. I didn't know how to listen, man. I always wanted to respond. You know, I walked into that meeting when that lady said that, and I heard what she said, and I sat down and I shut up. It was no longer about Sean, right? And so I went. This guy used to take me fishing at 4 o'clock in the morning, make me read the big book to him. So I went and hung out with him, and what an asshole, man. He made me read the big book at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I told him what had happened, and we got to the 3rd step, you know. And, man, I never turned my will over. I couldn't even comprehend that kind of language, man. I did the steps. I was, you know, I think I was on step 10 or something, you know, but I just didn't know what I didn't know, and it took what it took. What that lady said to me stuck. I haven't had the obsession to drink since that day. Not even the slightest, man. I hear old timers talk about it all the time. You know, if you don't think about drinking every once in a while, you're lying. Well, I'm here to tell you, 7.5 years later or whatever, I have not had a thought of drinking. Drinking is not a good idea. I am convinced, 100%, utterly convinced that drinking or using is not a good idea. Today, I get to use other tools, man. That's my old solution. I got new solutions today, and it's getting uncomfortable in front of these people on this phone right here, you know, and it's sharing my experience, strength, and hope, and my truth, and speaking from the heart, man. That's the solution, you know. You newcomers that are on here, man, you're online right now, you know. You're available for the next person that might want to reach out and ask you for help. You know, they might not feel comfortable talking to me or somebody else, you know. And so I started my journey from that point on. Life has changed since then. Life has not been very easy, right? You know, I had a minor heart attack two days ago, actually. You know what I mean? And you know, you know, I've been through 2 custody battles. I'm going through one right now. I've got full custody of my son, and it took 2 years. That's the most pain that I've ever felt. And you know, and here I am. I get to go through it again, and it's hard because I'm worried about how it's going to affect him. Today I got feelings, and I recognize them. I know feelings aren't facts, you know, so I know they change. So there's hope. There's hope through whatever feelings I have. There's hope. I know for a fact, I'm 100% convinced that it's going to be okay as long as I keep my mouth shut and I keep on the path and I don't be an asshole, man. And I do what's in front of me, and I do it with love and tolerance and kindness and patience and all that funny stuff that you guys teach me, man. So like I said, life changed, man. I've lost people. I've lost jobs. It took me a long time to learn how to be an employee, you know. It took me a long time. But after every job I got fired from, it took a few jobs. Like I thought missing 3 days a week was normal, you know. And then I got to 3 days a month, and then then I got to one day a month, and then I beat some dude up, you know. Like, I mean, I'm not perfect, you know, but today I'm a good employee, you know. My income just Thank you. My income just doubled after that. Every job, my income would double or something, right? Or it would be more convenient, or it would be more relative, or more learning opportunities, or more whatever, right? And that's because I kept the faith. I kept moving. I kept through it, persevering. That perseverance is big in Alcoholics Anonymous, right? You know, I've got a disease of perception, man. It's all up to me. If I want to have a good day, I can. Today, I don't have bad days. I don't, man. My wife and I moved to Idaho in September, the end of September. By the early of October, we were separated, right? California to Idaho, that's a big change, man. I took a $50,000 pay cut, you know, and lots of fear. And I did it for all the wrong reasons, you know. We separated, and I didn't have a bad day that day. That wasn't a bad day. It was bad moments. Right. And 2 weeks after that, I bought a house out here for me and my son, you know, and then I lost that job that moved me up here. That, you know, I quit that job because it was false. Everything was false. Right. And I didn't have to hold on to that resentment. It's okay. I got a new job. Now I'm in an industry I love more than anything. I'm in the industry I started when I first got sober, and I've been out of it because I was always chasing the dollar. You know how humbling that is to be able to stay here in my new house with my son and accepting the pay that I get. I'm not chasing the dollar no more. It's so amazing. And I do what I love, you know. And through this pandemic, man, there's people out there struggling. There's people that are so much less fortunate. You know, I'm so grateful to still be working. I feel healthy, and I feel like I'm not at risk because I'm away from everybody. We're like at least 10 feet apart, us welders, you know, and I get to pay my bills, and I get to see how I could be of service to other people in the community. You know, I gave away some toilet paper the other day. You know, that's a big deal, man. So if I could say anything, you know, I don't know if you got anything out of what I said. I was kind of scattered. It's been a while since I shared my story, but the only thing I could tell you, man, is that I do today what I started doing then. I don't complicate it, right? I got sponsees. I have a sponsor. I don't overdo it. I practice things like communicating with someone. I practice things like communicating with my ex-partner. It's hard, man. It's really hard. She's a victim, you know, and she's coming at me like I'm the problem and I'm all these bad things that I used to be. And I don't have to react to that. I get to just tell the truth and be patient and be loving and pray about it, you know. And I don't know God, man. I'm not this big religious person, but I do pray. I take the action. I say the Serenity Prayer when I need to. I practice faith. This is a program of practice. So for you new people, quit trying to figure it out. Find somebody that's got some years, man. I'm sorry. I mean, you know, it's okay. You know, we all have something to offer each other, but find somebody that's got some quality sobriety, somebody that's sitting there calmly and relaxed. They don't look like they're stressed out, you know, and do what they tell you to do. Take their suggestions, right? This isn't a program for people that want it. This isn't a program for people that need it. This is a program for people that do it. Take action on your life, man. Nothing changes if nothing changes, you know, and you can't fix the mind you have with the mind you have. You know, so just dig into the book. The program is in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I don't care what your demon is, man. I don't care if it's drugs, sex, alcohol, gambling. The solution is the same. So anyways, thanks for having me, guys.
Ooh. Oh, man, Sean, that